If I bring her home, she ratchet. The bitty bitch, you know she nasty. I'm putting Chanel on her back.
What's good, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Put You On Game. In today's video, we're actually going to be speaking about American businesswoman and entrepreneur Whitney Wolf, who's actually the founder and the CEO of the dating app Bumble. For those who don't know, Bumble is pretty much a dating app where it's basically like Tinder, but it's more female dominated in terms of who's starting a conversation first. So rather than you matching with someone and then you both just wait who's going to speak to who first, Bumble is pretty much the females will have to start the spark first. So once you match with someone, then the females will speak, and then that's when you get to talk. So I've actually used Bumble before, you know, I'm not gonna lie. It's actually an alright app, it's not too bad. It's basically like Tinder, but obviously females have the upper hand whether they want to speak to you first or not. So it's actually an interesting app, to be honest. So Whitney Wolf actually grew up in Salt Lake City in Utah, where the population over there within Salt Lake City is about 200,000 people, but in Utah in general there's over 1 million people that actually live in there, which is pretty much a very humble place to live in. It's not really a place where you will find a lot of news about havoc or any type of crimes happening. And to be honest, Whitney actually grew up in a relatively wealthy home. Her father, Michael Wolf, was actually a very wealthy property developer, and she kind of saw growing up her father have that entrepreneurship and also just being very business orientated. So she kind of gravitated towards that path, and she kind of followed her father in his footsteps, which led to her success that I'm going to get into further. She studied at Southern Methodist University, where she was learning international studies, and at the age of 20, while she was in university, she actually started a non-for-profit organization which is selling bamboo tote bags for people that were actually affected by the BP oil spill that actually happened in 2010 in America. Well, for those who don't know, it was a deep water horizon spill that was a huge industrial disaster that affected a lot of people in their homes. So Whitney actually started, creating this product in order to help people out, to get people back on their feet. So seeing as she got a lot of love and a lot of people as well reaching out to help her out with her organization in order to keep the business growing, she actually wanted to take it a step further, and she started another non-for-profit organization where she actually partnered up with a well-renowned celebrity stylist called Patrick Udenkamp. Now, they started up a project called the Help Us Project. Well, Whitney Wolf was actually a very caring and giving person, because simultaneously, whilst growing a non-for-profit organization and also at university, just seeing all the success that she was getting doing charitable stuff, she actually started another non-for-profit organization which was raising awareness for human trafficking. So it was sort of like a clothing line, which was for her charitable organization called Tender Love, which was raising awareness for human trafficking in America, Asia, and also Africa, mainly trying to stop human trafficking with kids and also adults as well. Being at the age of 20, whilst in university and also running these non-for-profit organizations, she actually gained a very good understanding and insight in terms of how it's like to actually run a business. So at the age of 22, just before she was actually going to graduate, she ended up joining a company called Hatch Labs. Now, Hatch Labs was actually a company that invests in small startups, small, medium businesses, in order to get them up and running whenever they're going into business. Now, that company, it was doing well at the beginning, but then eventually they ended up not really gaining much success through the investments that they were making. But during her time working at Hatch Lab, she came across Tinder. So she initially joined in 2012 at Tinder in the development team. And then after years of grinding and working really hard and really having a passion for this type of niche of creating and developing dating apps, she eventually actually became the vice president of marketing for Tinder. Also as well, around 2013, when the company was looking to kind of go to a different direction, they were actually going to change their name from Tinder to something else. So it was actually heard that Whitney was actually behind keeping the name Tinder. And for those who don't know, that's actually a word for a combustible material that's used in order to start a fire. So that's why if you look at the Tinder logo, you see that is a flame, because it relates back to the material that you can use in order to start up a fire. So what a lot of people didn't know is that during her time when she worked at the development team and then she was kind of growing and then eventually became the vice president of marketing at Tinder, she was actually dating the co-founder, Justin Mateen, So they were actually going out for quite some time. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't mix business with pleasure, only because when you do, there's just so much politics that gets involved. There's so much he say, she say, and you end up pulling strings that you wouldn't usually do just because you're now working with your partner. She was actually working there as the vice president of marketing. There was a lot of friction and tension between the executives at Tinder and also as well with her marketing team in terms of where she looks to have Tinder leading into. So I think the vision and also as well just the direction of where Whitney wanted the company to go as opposed to where Justin Mateen wanted the company to go, they were kind of bumping heads and clashing all the time. So eventually around 2014, end of 2014, early 2015, she actually resigned from Tinder. But not only that, she actually filed a lawsuit which was sexual harassment and also discrimination towards women that were working at Tinder. Now, there was a lot of undermining going on. There was a lot of people within the company that didn't really take the ideas of the females too serious. So the sexual harassment was happening from a lot of different departments within the company. And to be honest with you, especially when you're involved in a business, especially in the dating niche, you're going to get a lot of jokers that don't really take their position serious. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to get involved and they're not really going to be in it to win it. They're just going to be there in order to have fun and have a great time, just due to the nature of the type of work you're doing. So whenever you're working in this type of niche, which is dating, and you're constantly kind of just thinking of the psychology side of things in terms of sex and relationship and love, etc., you will get a lot of people that could come and tarnish the image, and within, you know, indoors of the company, they could be doing a lot of madness. So that's when there was a lot of harassment going on. So she kind of filed that lawsuit, and then around end of 2015, coming 2016, that's when they actually settled. They came to a settlement in court, and Whitney Wolf actually won $1 million from the co-founders of Tinder. And then once she actually won that settlement, that's when she actually returned back to Austin, Texas, and that's when the dating app Bumble was created. So the female-focused app actually launched when she came back to Austin, Texas, and obviously with the $1 million settlement, that kind of gave her a boost in order to keep her business up and running, hire the right team, have the right software in place in order to launch this business the right way. So she also as well was in a good relationships with other dating companies, but one particular company that took an interest in Bumble was actually the CEO of Badoo, which was Andre Adrive. Now, he's actually someone that's the CEO of Badoo. Badoo isn't as huge as Tinder or Bumble, but it's up there, but it's not as huge as the two. So he actually invested into Bumble at the early stages, and he, even till this day, he's still a majority shareholder within Bumble. But due to the success and just the right way of launch that she did her business, it actually started growing really rapidly and growing huge as well, because at the end of 2016, early 2017, end of 2017, she actually ended that year with over 80 million matches. Not only that, but in 2018, there was around 15 million conversations being sparked on the app of Bumble. Now, the female-focused dating app was actually very unique due to the fact that women have the upper hand of speaking first with whoever they match. So that kind of gave it a good stigma for the company. So the reason why I wanted to touch upon Whitney Wolf in terms of how she actually grew her company, Bumble, is very interesting, especially for the women as well, to actually, no matter what niche you get into, no matter what industry, there's always going to be turbulence and you're always going to have a come up. But eventually you're going to get to where you're going to get to. But I just wanted to kind of make this video about her story because it's quite inspiring, especially going from a non-for-profit organization, growing up, you know, those type of businesses that you're running, and then eventually kind of stumbling across the dating niche and then kind of scaling it and growing it from there. So she's actually one of the youngest female billionaires on Forbes. And not only that, but also as well, just she recently went live in the stock market, so that definitely boosted their business even more. You know, going live in the stock market definitely helps out the company. I'm invested into Bumble, so I put my investment in, so I'm just letting that grow and just letting that stay in there, because I know someone, having a CEO like Whitney Wolf in charge is definitely someone that's going to be an innovator and definitely going to be pushing the business forward. So I definitely invested my stocks into Bumble as well. But anyways, that's just a quick video that I wanted to do in terms of the success of Whitney And I wanted, you know, females especially to get inspired in terms of how she actually managed to run her business, and also as well for other people, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's trading, whether it's network marketing, whether it's drop shipping, or whether it's creating an app, or whether it's, you know, starting up real estate or a restaurant, etc. No matter what niche you're in, there's always going to be a starting point, and you're eventually going to get to where you get to. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video. Make sure you like, subscribe. I'm definitely going to be putting out more content in terms of entrepreneurship and business, so stay tuned.